Hi there, it's Teresa. I wanted to come to you after our journaling exercise this morning. We were in detox in the fall, and we just finished up 3 consecutive Monday mornings of a journal cleanse where we met for 45 minutes at 8 a.m. And this was the final week. It's our Emerge week, our Easeful Living week. And we talked about the growth depth path that arises, or that we can choose to look at life as a growth depth path. And so in our Master of You book, just to point us to this so that you know, like, these are the resources, and I think this is a really great moment to understand after that video. And if you haven't seen the video or you weren't there to experience it, go back. It's 50 minutes. And follow the journaling prompts, and hopefully it will get you to a point where you can get a greater understanding of this work. Sometimes this work and the Master of You can be really challenging, because when we go to sit down to do the work, maybe we're not in that mindset of, what the pages are talking about. But the journaling exercises that we just did and that we're just coming off of, I think really will get us into a greater understanding of what some of these pages we're going to talk about. So you are welcome to read on your own these pages in the Master of You book. It's page 160. I won't read the entire thing, and through 165-ish. And it's in the water chapter. But the water chapter is really like a cohesiveness. It's sort of like the end product is flow once we've worked through these challenges and these things that we face. So that's why it's a really good point in time to talk about this. So you can either read it yourself, or if you'd like to have it read to you and just make it easy, if you're driving or something and you just want to listen to this, this is why I'm going to come to you, and I'm going to read it to you a little bit. All right. So on page 160, we begin. In water element, you'll turn inward toward your challenges rather than away from them, investing your attention in what blocks your way forward, making outdated patterns conscious. So again, in the video or the class we just took, we talked about these challenges and these depth points, how to understand how to come out of them, how to understand what can grow from them. Although water element escorts us to our depth, it is also softening, soothing, persistent, and adaptable to the path of least resistance. I immediately think of Brenda talking to us about vulnerability as a map, sort of a roadmap to getting out of the challenges. So this softening, this vulnerability is water. In Ayurveda, apas, or water, is the concept of fluidity, cohesion, protection, and nourishment. Water elements softens old patterns within you that must be integrated for you to move forward. So again, we talked about that lack of integrity, or the depth path is an opportunity to become more integrated, for more integrity. So again, water element softens old patterns within you that must be integrated for you to move forward. Water brings up the hard truth that what got you to this point isn't enough to get you all the way to your 3-year vision. This is the concepts of, our when we're working towards a goal, but we can use it towards any time in life. In mastering water, you'll explore how what goes wrong, what isn't enough, or is actually right. What seemingly goes awry on the journey to your deeper dreams is necessary to move forward. This is how water nurtures a more integrated and authentic you. Undoubtedly, at some point in your heroine's journey, you will encounter the underworld of your dharma, the depth path, the underbelly of your next purpose, the challenges you need to overcome with your eyes wide open, and the essential skills you don't have yet to achieve what you want to achieve. When you feel disempowered, caught off guard, or in a territory you didn't enter by choice, when you feel like you were swallowed by a mythological whale, you are in water. Michelle Obama, in her memoir, Becoming, describes what yogis call a water moment, the horrible barrage of negative national press in response to speeches she gave in support of her husband's campaign. As campaign advisors intervened, she realized that her skills in speaking to smaller crowds actually worked against her with crowds of thousands. Although emotionally the experience was humiliating and demoralizing, she adjusted to her circumstances by advocating for her needs for training, resources, and event management on the campaign trail, stepping up her game in a bigger arena of the public eye. Why do humans get pulled into their underworld, into the shadows of their subconscious when seeking a worthwhile goal? When water element swallows you whole, you have a lesson to learn or competency to gain before you can flow forward, or before you can become unburied from the depths, if we're talking about the depth as in the dirt and in the underbelly of the underground. Usually the timing is quite inconvenient, halting progress on whatever we're working on at the moment. Most likely, you won't want to engage the lesson at the time and put your plans on hold. Often there is something you can no longer avoid if you want to move forward. Water element shows up when your next big lesson in life is ripening. If you turn inward into the now critical issue and humbly soften, you open yourself to becoming even more whole and powerful. To circle back to Michelle Obama, months later, when her identity shifted to First Lady, she had a new set of skills and was wizened by the campaign trail, ready to devote herself in her new role. Particularly sticky patterns or shadow issues are deeply repressed, rejected, denied, or hard to unpack parts of ourselves. These patterns make the underworld journey longer and require an attitude of curiosity and receptivity. Yet, after they are transformed, the most growth is possible. As with mastering any element, the obstacles you encounter become easier to face through the iterative exercises, such as the ones included in this chapter of water. In mastering water, understanding the underworld is part of navigating the deeper dreams for everyone, including you. Will help you generate self-awareness throughout this process. In this chapter, we're navigated through tough circumstances with eyes wide open, so we can avail ourselves of the breakdown that leads to the breakthrough. So I'm going to jump forward just a little bit here, but I really felt like that was pertinent to what our class was this morning. All right. So now on page 164, we jump ahead and there's like the wily wisdom of water. And it talks about this process, this iterative process of like when we get through, when we're having a breakdown, in order to get to the breakthrough, we have to get through obstacles, right? And we have to get to our next level competencies or our next level of unearthing what the old patterns are that we're holding on to that are keeping us from moving forward. So we go into some mythical lands here on page 165. For example, in the Sumerian myth, Inanna willingly goes to the pit of hell in the underworld to gain power from her sister, also queen of the underworld. Inanna dies to her old self in the excruciating process of encountering her own shallow, uncompassionate, power-hungry tendencies. So that would be the things that we're like, that we don't really love about ourselves, that we need to change, but it's difficult to change. Through layers of humiliation and death, layers of humiliations and deaths, she meets her shadow. She can't escape her own outdated identities, which now show up as her inadequacies. Again, what do we not have yet that we could use to move us forward? She must digest them layer by layer. When she does, the emotional pain of her incongruencies breaks away to a new level of leadership as queen of the earth and the heavens. That digesting part, it hints to our detoxes when we like go into a pause and a retreat to like really understand and digest what's been going on. The underworld myths cross cultures and times. Another example is the Greek story of Demeter, known as Mother Nature and the goddess of the harvest and fertility, and her daughter Persephone. The king of the dead abducts the innocent Persephone into the underworld to be his wife. Demeter's sadness over losing her daughter to the underworld sends the earth into winter, halting growth and harvesting. Yet, in the underworld, innocence evolves into awakened power, and Persephone emerges back to the land as queen of the underworld and goddess of spring, of rebirth after death. Persephone, like Inanna, is required to be in the underworld half the year to return to the darkness, to die to the outside world. The underworld represents the aqueous unknown, the mysterious power that activates the next seasonal cycle of fertility. So again, we get hinted at this cycle, this iterative process, this spiral, this looping of like, we're going to keep going and we keep circling around, but we are evolving if we are facing what needs to be faced. From these myths, we learn that the murkiness, the death of the outdated self, and the grief for that loss are essential for the cycle of growth, this spiral growth. Persephone and Inanna represent the root to rise concept of Spanda, explored more in chapter 5 on the earth element. Both develop hidden powers from their descent, choosing to be queens of darkness in order to be queens of light, the darkness and the light. Cycle after cycle. The same Spanda, that pulsation we talked about this morning, that brings you up, also escorts you down. If you go into your own unknown, interested in evolution, your Spanda later rebounds with integrated power, again, integrity. The momentum of the descent generates the latter ascent. As when you bounce a ball off the floor, the more downward energy, the more upward energy. You know you are being pulled into water element when your emotions are heavy and overpowering. Fear, frustration, hopelessness, stress, and grief are the gateways to their gravitational opposites of innovation, ease, achievement, optimism, and the delight of integration. Let me stop there. By acknowledging, we'll read just to finish the paragraph here. By acknowledging your negative emotions and circling through the lessons they hold, you move through the cycle from breakdown to breakthrough, which comes with refined integration of the parts of yourself. As Carl Jung pointed out, no tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. During a healing or growth journey, we can be pulled under into a disorienting inward abyss of heavy emotions. Time in this abyss itself is disorienting. Often a part of the self feels like it's dissolving or dying, and the sadness can be overwhelming, like Demeter's grief, which stopped growth and harvesting. Yet remember that the elements, including water, are impersonal. It happens to everyone becoming a better version of themselves. The abyss itself is as deep as your ambition is great. Expansion and growth happen through pulsating opposites. What goes up must come down. Root to rise. To jump to great heights, you must bend your knees. As mid-20th century entrepreneur and motivational speaker Earl Schoaf, Jim Rohn's mentor, taught, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better or more skilled. So, and then on that page, it shows this growth and depth phase that we talked about today. So I think I'll leave it at that. Again, 166 is where we ended up. The image is there that sort of assists us with our journal lesson today. And here's wishing you all well as we enter into our break. Thanks.